Marshni Naidu. I'm the head of SchoolNet South Africa. So we're going to try and see how best we can schedule time with all of you so that we can take you through working on distance learning and online learning and see how best we can prepare you for helping to teach with your kids. So the first sort of thing is in this workshop, we'll be doing a number of things, but we'll take it easy. So depending on your skills and depending on how fast we go, maybe you want to mute your screen. I can hear some people talking, sorry. Maybe just mute yourself. And when you want to talk, then just let Quinn know and then she'll give you the speaker. Right, so the first thing we've got to do is we've got to explain the difference between face-to-face digital teaching and distance learning. Now, there's a huge difference between all three, so we'll talk a little bit of what that means. And then we're going to work on what are the considerations for digital teaching, what are the things you need to have in place before you go on this digital teaching journey, and then we'll start talking to you about Teams. And then the afternoon session at 3 o'clock with Quinn, we'll talk about some of the features and the functionality. She'll walk you through some of the sort of things that you need to be thinking about. Then we're going to let you play, and then tomorrow we'll resume with some additional sort of skills. Okay, so first of all, getting to grips with digital learning. Let's talk about your expectations first. I think I'm going to stop this screen sharing here and just hear from all of you. Those of you that can unmute yourself, if you'd like to unmute yourself and just one at a time, just talk about what are the worries you have, what are the questions you're thinking about, and what are your biggest concerns, because these are going to be the questions that we're going to try to answer for you. So if you're not sure, then you just let us know, and then we are able to add it into our sessions so that it sort of speaks to what your expectations are. So one at a time, we'll take about 5 responses. What are the concerns you have? What are the burning questions? What are your worries about digital teaching? Is somebody speaking?
Hello, my name is Naledi.
Yes, Naledi.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. My concern is how are we going to reach out onto our learners due to this COVID-19 pandemic?
Okay, very good question. Reaching out to learners. Other questions? Is there anybody else with a question? Nobody else with the question? Okay, so the first.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes, this is Zippo here. I just want to know, provided that most of our learners come from a disadvantaged can also train them.
Zippo, there seems to be some kind of interference. I can't hear you very clearly. You started saying that your learners come from disadvantaged homes, and then you sort of broke up.
Well,
There is something wrong. Can you hear me now?
Bad background behind. I don't know whether it's Pingy or Nozippo.
Maybe someone's mic is on. I'm not sure.
Just to find out, Pamela, do you have both your laptop and your phone connected to the session?
Yes.
That
What
could be
must
the
I do?
problem. That's why
Yeah.
So connect with one, whichever one is better.
Yeah.
Whichever one is better.
Yeah.
Connect with either your laptop or your phone, but having both devices on at the same time means you're connecting twice, and then when you speak on one side, there's like an interference that comes through on the session. So just choose one device to connect with. Otherwise, you're going to waste your own data.
I asked that before, but I just switch off the laptop.
Choose the one that you trust most, Kemi.
Sorry?
Choose the one that you trust between your laptop and your phone.
Very good.
Hello?
I didn't hear. Okay, so I didn't hear that second question. Was it Pamela or Nazipo that was asking about the learners from disadvantaged? And then I didn't hear the rest.
Okay, so I was saying, I was looking at the fact that it's Zipone. I was looking at the fact that most of our learners are from the disadvantaged families. They don't have access to devices. Is there a way that we provide those devices to learners?
Okay, we'll talk about some of those questions or the answers, or as I see it. So Pujit Matladi is not on the session yet, or perhaps she is. But okay, so any other questions?
Thanks.
Okay, nobody else. All right, so the first thing is reaching out to learners. We'll try and address some of those sort of questions. We know that the department has gone with Teams as a tool for reaching out to your learners during this time. What's not clear is about the data that's required. And as I can see the question, I'm not sure who it was that phrased it. It's learners not having access to devices. I know that the MEC had provided devices to the higher grades, grade 11s and 12s, so they might have access to devices. But if we're looking at, I'm not sure what grades you're teaching. Who was it that asked the question? I'm sorry, I couldn't see. But for the lower grades particularly, it's going to be an issue, but perhaps you have access to the parents. Maybe you can email links to the parents. I know some of our schools, like my son goes to Wendywood, and their teachers have been WhatsApping sort of worksheets, or they have like a communicator that they've sending PDF worksheets even. So I think access, we're going to, when you are doing your planning, you have to assume that the children are going to make some kind of means to have a digital device accessible to them, and they can borrow their parents, and it's any sort of phone that has some internet capabilities, as well as devices like laptops or desktops. Public libraries also have access to devices. Yeah, so unfortunately, the risk is that we're not going to be able to reach children that don't have a device in their homes, unless their parents have, and there's sharing options available. And the other constraint is data. Because Teams is not free, and many of the platforms are not free. When we say not free, meaning you still need data to be able to access. All right, so whilst we are figuring out these kinds of big questions to answer, let us prepare ourselves for the online environment in the meantime, so that where we can carry on with teaching and learning, we are able to do so. And I think the key element is going to be for when we get back to school, or to find another mechanism for reaching the kids that don't have devices or data. Right, so the first question is, what's the difference between our face-to-face teaching, digital teaching, and distance learning? And you'll find, I mean, typically the face-to-face, the first picture that you see on the screen is generally where our teachers are in the front of the classroom. You've got your learners that are sitting at their desks in rows and columns. Some may or may not have smart boards. You may or may not have chalkboards. So basically, you stand in front of the classroom, you are delivering a lesson that you prepared. So generally the preparation of lessons as well, you could be testing prior knowledge, you could be checking whether the child has prior knowledge, you're also teaching new concepts, you're teaching processes, you're giving homework, so that the children can practice what they learn. So the face-to-face dynamic is very, very clear that it is the true art of education, because when you're looking at the classroom setting, you're able to see whether your child is concentrating, you're able to see whether your children have their books out, you're able to tell a whole range of different things from being in the front of the classroom, sort of managing the dialogue of the teaching and learning situation. Now, digital teaching, on the other hand, is different. What we were trying to do with digital teaching, and those of you that have been with SchoolNet for a long time, or even just starting on the digital journey, what we try to do with digital teaching, it's also known as blended learning. What happens is that you still are teaching in the classroom, but digital teaching starts saying that you start using digital means to do your teaching. So if you had a smartboard in your classroom, you're already to an extent were doing digital teaching. If you prepared your lessons on PowerPoint, already you are starting to use digital tools in the teaching and learning. If you're teaching languages and you use tools, you ask the kids to capture videos or sound bites or podcasts or listening comprehensions, then all of that becomes digital teaching, where you blend digital tools in your teaching habits. Now, when you talk about distance learning is typically, if you imagine like a UNISA, where you've got, they give you your entire year syllabus or your semester syllabus, and they say, here's all the tutorials, here's all the questions, do these assignments, submit them on these due dates, and you aver away. Sometimes they have some tutorials as well. So distance learning is a concept where you are trying, you give the child the work, you get them to do most of the work themselves, and they submit. So there's less teacher intervention in those elements. So the best medium out of the three is the digital teaching medium, where you still have the education dynamic. So when we are dealing with remote learning and the online learning that we are trying to craft for Gauteng and the rest of South Africa now during the COVID-19 pandemic, what we're trying to do is to have a blend of the teacher being here, where the child can still have some stability in terms of knowing that the teacher is still there. And the second is still doing some teaching and still managing to get some kind of understanding of whether the child is doing the work, they're submitting work for assessment, and we'll deal with some of those things on how you get evidence of the child's work coming through. So digital teaching is the way that we're going to sort of focus on for our sessions together. So digital teaching can happen synchronously or asynchronously. Now, these are big words, but synchronous means at the same time. So at the moment, the session is synchronous because it's a live session. I'm here as a session. There'll be a specific time that you set up for your like we started the session at 10, we're going to finish at 11, we'll have another session at 3, and a teacher can basically talk through, and you see that there's video capabilities as well as the option for you to be able to share a screen and to share different sort of lessons that you may have prepared in advance, and you're able to set homework as well as due dates and where and how to submit. Now, asynchronous learning is, for example, I'm going to give you homework in the session and you tell the children to do this work. They have a week to finish the work. So asynchronous means that the work that they're going to do in that week, where you're not present physically in a live session, you set the work and you say, hey children, do the work, and then submit on a certain time. So this is where you can have foreign discussions. You can ask the kids to talk about a particular session. So let's say you have a WhatsApp group with your learners already, and an asynchronous session could be where you phrase a topic and you say, children, I would like you to do some research on this and give me a paragraph, a summary of what you've learned. So their research becomes something that they do in their own time, and then when they're ready with an answer, they just pop the message into the WhatsApp group. So it's not happening in real time. You're not managing it in real time. So you could give them to watch a video. You could say, listen to an audio, read a couple of pages of their textbook. So you're not having to do something that is so out of their sort of examples or things that they have access to. So if they have textbooks and you know that they have their textbooks, then you can say, read this page, 20 to 22, summarize the key points, and do a mind map of the concept. So the asynchronous is like the homework type of setting where it's not a live session. So there's going to be two types of digital teaching that you are thinking of: synchronous or asynchronous. Synchronous is at the same time, and asynchronous is where you sort of give it like a homework task and the kids do it in their own time. Right, so let's now talk about our goals for digital teaching. Now, your goals might be very different because you are thinking about the practicalities of you're going to prepare these lessons, how are you going to get access to your learners? And that is going to be something, a deeper conversation, because we're not able to resolve that in this session. What we're going to be doing is helping you prepare for a teaching environment in a virtual setting. So the first thing is, there's a couple of goals. One is you want to maintain contact with your learners, because this is what education is. It's a social dynamic, and it requires interaction between the teacher and the child. The second goal will be for us to continue with the teaching and learning. So we don't want to lose the entire academic year, and the only way for us to do that is to maintain some kind of teaching and learning contact, where we are teaching concepts, we're giving homework, we're allowing the child to go through the work, master the concepts, and come back and show us evidence of that work. And the third is to connect with the school community. And that is for you as teachers to remain connected with one another, to remain connected with the district, as well as teachers in other provinces, throughout the country, as well as international community. And that's going to be important, because we must realize that this is a global pandemic. It's not us only in South Africa that's experiencing this. Teachers throughout the world are experiencing the same kind of thing. The manner in which they're doing it is different. Our contexts are different, but the kind of goals that we're trying to touch on through our digital teaching. Right, so yesterday, some of you had the orientation with Adi. We were taken through the Office 365. We are seeing success because you managed to join the Teams channels in this session, which is really brilliant. Now, let's talk a little bit about Teams. Teams is a very special sort of session. The things that you got to be thinking about is the types of learning environment that you have, what classes and the lessons you're going to be offering, and the additional support you're going to be providing to your students. Okay, I'm going to come back to the things you can consider. Bandwidth. You were talking about just now whether the children have access to data, and you're going to, as well as in terms of bandwidth. This is now, do you have an internet connectivity? Do you have stable internet connectivity? Are you on a Wi-Fi connection? Are you on a 3G, 4G connection? So all of these things affect, and as Matapela was saying earlier on, and Quinn as well, when you put your video on you're using a lot more bandwidth. So that is why generally in an online session, we put our videos on at the start to say hello and to just see that you're talking to other humans. But then you switch off your team's communication. The link to the kids. So in that way, it's an asynchronous session, but you are still teaching the concept, still getting the concept across to the child, but you're not doing it in a live session. And those are going to be some of the ways in which you can also save on the bandwidth constraints. Now, the other consideration, which is one of the questions we had, is will our children have access to the technology? And that is both technology for the teachers as well as for the learners are different. Some of you were saying that you had your laptop, some of you may have your mobile devices, and you know, there's a difference between desktop, laptop, and mobile access. And you got to understand that some of the kids are not going to have access. So if they don't have access, what do? You've got to plan special sort of interventions for them, or take note of the children that are not sort of attending the online sessions. And it means when you get back to school, there might be a way to do it. Or you make contact with the parents and you share the links, or you share worksheets with the children so that they are not left behind. And of course, you need to be thinking about the tools that are available on mobile versus laptops or desktops or cell phones. So the third element is emotional needs, and you got to understand, and as teachers, we all know that we serve so much more than just teaching in the school. One of the key elements is that we provide emotional support to the kids. And whilst we know that school is to everybody, help or support line sort of considerations for them as well. You've got to try and see in your online sessions, if you're having them, ways in which you can see how the kids are feeling, whether they need some help, and what kind of help you might be able to find. Some of them might just need somebody to talk to. Some of them might just need, maybe they're starving, maybe they're needing food. You know, I think there's a lot of that, which is a need for our kids as well as our teachers in many instances too. So if we can find out what that need is, perhaps there's ways in which we can help support the children. Right, so let's talk through Teams. I just want to play a video, and I'm hoping that it's going to share. I've stopped sharing my screen. I just want to open the video, sorry. We're going to hope that it plays. I'm hoping you can share my see my screen. Are you able to see?
Now we can see.
I just love that sweet yodeling sound. And I wanted to.
Okay, I know this is US video, and the intention of showing it though is to show the power of teams, and hearing it from teachers who have used teams before. And you'll see that, you know, when we talk about the 21st century skills and you talk about collaboration and communication, you're wanting a range of different skills coming through from a learning environment. And what we're trying to do is to make sure that our teachers are able to simulate that education environment, that classroom environment using a virtual setting. And you'll see that at the end, what we speak about is our teachers eager, and I can see that already the fact that you're joining and you're showing an interest in using Teams and thinking about the bigger questions about whether your children have access, it means that you are interested and you are eager to assist. The second element is the leadership on board. And this you can see from the district intervention in terms of supporting you on this journey. And the next sort of level of leadership assistance will be, does your school leadership also support the same, where they are trying to alleviate some of the bigger questions around, is the devices available to the children? Are there sort of options available in terms of data, for example, especially through the free Wi-Fi that I know that many of our schools also have access to for the higher levels. And then the third level that he talks about is opportunities, and the opportunities that you're providing. Remember, when we talk about the 4IR, we are now also talking about ways in which our students learn digital skills whilst they're at school, so that when they finish school and go into higher education, or they're going into economic activities or TVET colleges, they have some digital skills that allow them to participate fully in the work and outside school environment. And that's going to be key. And this is why we must include technology into our learning dynamics. And the fact that you're taking the step on means that you're already halfway through this sort of conversation. Right, I'm going to go back to I'm going to stop sharing my screen just so that I can make it a little bit bigger in terms of the PowerPoint. And you'll see that all I've done here is, I'm hoping you can see the screen. I will wait for it to just appear on your side, but you'll see that I developed a PowerPoint, and this is what I'm using to sort of facilitate the session this morning. Okay. All right, so now getting started with Teams. When you join a team session, you'll see that this is the kind of screen that you see. You have a main sort of picture where you see this language arts sort of element, and this is called the Teams sort of home screen. Now, when you look at the Me space, you'll see that the Me space is actually on the left-hand panel. It is all the things that you as the teacher will set up and will be able to see. This is now highlighted in this orange rectangle that's on the side. Now, the app bar is where you would have clicked on. When you click on the Teams icon, you'll be able to see all the teams you belong to or the ones that you've set up. When you click on the chat, you'll be able to see the chat functionality. When you click on activity, you'll be able to see all of the activities that you're involved in. The meetings, if you meeting so you be able to see scheduled meetings you have, whoever's joined, files, any file that you upload to any teams will all be, we're going to experiment with what that later. And the we space, this sort of element here where you are now going to be sharing it. This becomes your public space. This is the space that you share with your children, where you share with your other teachers and the networks that you're going to be. Then you see general, you'll see whatever to have in terms of sharing your space. I've got a message that says my connectivity is poor. I'm not sure why. And then you have within each channel and team, you have something called tabs, conversations, files. You can add a whole lot more. You'll see the plus sign allows you to add whatever channels that you want, and you can rename them as well. So if you're wanting assignments, if you're wanting resources, whatever sort of tabs that you want to add to the session, you're able to do that. That customizes it for your teaching. The canvas is basically this element here, which is the bulk of what you share with your kids. I pass this a little bit. I just want to take you to a live team session. Let me just stop sharing and then I'll start sharing again when I get into my Teams. I can see that my connectivity is a bit slow now. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so now this is our team session that we're having. I'm just going to take you through my sort of team settings so you're able to see exactly what we said. Right, so on the side here, you see this is your taskbar, and we said all of the activities that we have. So as SchoolNet, these are the kinds of things that we have, and you'll see any of the activities that you've been involved in will be sort of on this sort of feed that you have. If you look at the chat, you'll find that you can chat to any of the participants that you have. You can add files, you can add activities, and as I said, the plus sign here is you can search and you can add a whole range of different sort of elements that are here. Now the Teams tab is the clear one. You'll see that I belong to a number of teams. I'm hoping that you can see my screen. So you'll see that we have general sort of ones. So when you are creating teams, you're going to be thinking about how do you want to create a team? Do you, let's say you're teaching grade 8 life orientation. You might want to create a grade 8 team, and then within your grade 8 team you have an LO channel. Maybe you also teach geography, so you can have a life orientation as well as a geography channel. If you're an HOD for maths, for example, you might want to create a maths team, and then within the maths team you can have grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, grade 11. So how you set up your team will be very much dependent on how you want to engage with your teachers, with your learners, and from a district point of view as well, you could be thinking about whether you want to have a district-wide. You could have it per school even if you wanted. So you decide how you want to set up a team. So if I look at the Telkom Foundation team, so you'll see the Telkom Foundation team is here. And there are two channels, the general channel and the Telkom GDE channel, which is the current one that we're in. When you click on these ellipses, you'll see that you're able to have channel notifications. You can pin it, means that when you pin this, it means it'll always appear at the top. When you click on managing channel, you're able to here add new people. You can get an email address, which means that you can send this link directly to your learners. You can get a link directly to this channel, which means you can then share the link to other teachers, to other learners. This becomes a quick way of getting people to join your channel. So if you're thinking about sharing whatever session that you have, that might be the way where you copy the link and you share that in WhatsApp groups with your kids so that it's quick access in terms of them being able to access the materials. When you look at calendar, for example, now calendar will show you all of the things that you have on your session, and you're able to meet now. You can set up a new meeting, but I think Quinn will take you through how to set up new sessions in the afternoon session. There's also call functionality, and you'll see what happens here is that you're able to call anybody that's in your contact list. And at the moment, it is contacts that are in your organization or people that you have invited via your contact list. So you can call anybody, much like Skype. If they're a friend or a contact on your list, you're able to call them through this app. So think about ways in which you can add your learners to this list. If you have their email addresses, you're able to then call via this sort of system. You're able to add the As you said, these ellipses, you're able to have a range of different apps that are available to you. Now, what's wonderful is that Microsoft has a range of different third-party apps, and I think we'll take you through some of that tomorrow. MindMeister is one of them. This is a mind mapping tool. I think many of us use mind maps as a tool in our teaching. So having it here as part of the apps and tools, you can set an assignment for the kids very easily and say, you know, use the MindMeister app as a tool. It will require that you sort of log in and have all the registration sort of things in advance. OneNote is also quite brilliant in terms of how you set up your lessons, and rather than having different PowerPoints, you're able to set up a OneNote class notebook with all of the lessons that you need. But we'll show you in the subsequent sessions that we have. Planner is really good. It allows you, like a calendar, but it allows you to set tasks. So if you're wanting to set homework tasks and assignments and those kind of things, then it's great for you to use Planner, because then that'll send notifications and those kind of elements. You also have available here Zoom, which is a third-party app. And then if you're wanting more apps, you'll see these that are then available, but we'll talk more about that a little bit in subsequent sessions. So that is basically the team sort of session. Now I just want to maximize my screen a little bit so you can see. Just want to take you back, right? So on our session together, when we started off the session, you saw that I opened up my PowerPoint, and now I'm hoping that you can still see my screen, and you'll see that this is this little taskbar at the bottom here. And what happens is that this is where you can turn your camera on, you can mute yourself, but the sharing screen is the important option. And when you share your screen, you're able to share your PowerPoint, you're able to share a Word document, you're able to share a video that you're playing on your device. And that's going to be important in your teaching environment, because depending on what kind of lesson you design, you're able to then have that as a means for working with your kids, and you can decide how. So if you're teaching languages, for example, you might want to read out loud a passage, and then you can have a comprehension, and you can ask the questions. For example, you could play a video, and then you could get the kids to summarize. So you can decide how you want to design your learning, and that's going to be important. Once we master the sort of navigation around Teams, and we're going to give you a chance also, once you prepare a lesson or something like that, where you're able to, with us, then be able to share your own screen, and we'll make you a host so that we can show others how to actually set up their own screen and be able to share at the same time, so that you know that you have the skills to be able to do that. Okay, so 1 hour is almost up. It's already 50 minutes. So this is the navigation of Teams. I just want to open it up now to additional questions. Are there additional questions? Mutladi, maybe you want to come in terms of 2 of the questions that were phrased around access to devices, access to data for the kids. Those were 2 questions at the start of the questions. Okay.
Hi, Omachne. Hi, colleagues. Okay, can I wait for the phone to go off? Just hang up. Just hang up. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, group. Thanks. And Omachne, colleagues, the issue of data, I think I conscientized you earlier to say we don't, the telecom and SchoolNet cannot actually provide data for us because the training is purely free. So if the training is free, obviously they cannot actually come on board in terms of data. So we need to, to sort ourselves out, because definitely we need to be developed. So I think we all agree, hence you are actually all on board. And Omasni, thank you and the team and the colleagues for your efforts and making time for this precious presentation and training. I don't know if maybe I missed something, Omashni. I was just busy with another educator to connect. I'm sorry for that earlier on.
No. Okay, so one of the questions was around devices. So our teachers are going to plan their sessions, and we'll find ways, and maybe innovative ways of trying to make sure that the kids have access to the links and things. But
okay,
how do we manage whether the child has access to a device?
You know, what we spoke about at the district is where parents have cell phones, especially if it's during the lockdown, and also beyond lockdown, it can be maybe remedial in the afternoon. Parents have cell phones, and we can actually connect the learners through the parents' devices. That's what we actually thought can work. And with educators, the principals that actually send a message to the educators that are here promise to actually assist educators with laptops or something. I know of the amazing principal promised to say if they don't have laptops or tablets, I can actually assist them, and so that the training can go on.
Yeah.
Did I answer?
Yes, I think so. You know, I mean, we're not going to solve all of the education issues. I mean, these were issues before the pandemic as well. And I think that the whole point, though, is for us to track which of our children have access and who don't. And I think higher education as well, if you're following the conversation with higher education institutions, you'll find that they are securing devices, and what some of them are doing, like FITS, for example, they're loaning the devices to the kids, or they're finding ways in which that can work. You know, I think Africa is most, oh, you can't hear me still? I think, you know, the whole sort of conversation around having access to devices, we will find it's just sure that we know for our children struggling, and when we get up, fish you have somebody for the children to have access. But as Matladi was saying, we can send through information to parents to just allow them to either use the parent phone, aunts, uncles, whoever, neighbors, are open to actually having those kinds of shared capabilities and access themselves. Are there other questions, other sort of things you want to be learning about in our subsequent sessions so that we are able to help you and guide you with those?
I don't know about the other colleagues, but
10 o'clock and for you in terms of times.
Okay. Colleagues, I'm not sure about if you have other any questions around that, but Mina personally, we agreed with Omashni to say we're going to drop in a schedule of sessions. Not long, I think, Omashni.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to give you the schedule to say which days. I'm not sure about tomorrow. Are you available tomorrow, Omashni, for the for 10 o'clock session, or can we postpone it to next week?
Definitely, I think we can work with what you have available. I think maybe next week will be okay. I'm not sure what your schedule is in terms of getting these lessons organized, but what we can do is give your teachers homework, and remember we are accessible, so you are able to sort of chat to us. You got to find your way. You have to play, and you'll find that in our teams I've shared a number of resources, and Quinn will send you a link to this as well, so that you can watch some tutorials, get to grips with the teams as a platform, and then we can kickstart our sort of development way, so that we can help you design the lessons and then have an online session with your kids.
I think that's ideal, Omashni. For today is the first session, 10 o'clock. The second session is 3 o'clock. Colleagues, I think you're listening. I hope you're listening. The second session is 3 o'clock to, no, is it 3, Omashni?
Yes, 3.
3 to 4. Okay? And then for tomorrow and Friday, the same assignment that you're giving us, all educators, we can actually help each other on the platform, and also on Microsoft Teams and BFine, so that we can submit. You give activities and we do activities, we submit, and as and when you see us progressing as colleagues, then you can go further and do another session. How do you take that?
Yes, I think that sounds good. I'll wait for your colleagues to also respond. Will that work?
Colleagues, you can respond. Just click on the unmute button and respond. The microphone is crossed. Just click on it and it will be uncrossed. Colleagues?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I think that will work.
And we're speaking to PE.
It's
Peter.
Yeah, it's Peter. Yeah, I think maybe if you can get activities per the presentation, and then so that we submit and see the understanding thereof, and then before we can continue with other sessions, so that we are on the same page.
Yeah, that's correct. We'll do that. Anyone else, colleagues? About Peter, can switch off your camera, it's fine. Anyone, colleagues? Omashni can take over.
Yes. All right, cool. Okay, so I like that idea because I've already decided on your homework. I'm glad to hear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share the homework with you. So you're going to have it too. I'm hoping you can see now. So basically, when I say do now, I mean you as homework. So what you're going to do is your task is to create a team. You're going to create a team on your team session, and you're going to select PLC, so Professional Learning Community for your team, because for now, we are working as colleagues together as a professional learning community. So you set up one as your team and then invite a few other teachers. So those of us that are on the call, you invite us to your team so that we can see learning and channels to the team. So take a photo of the screen and name your channels. So you're going to rename your channels. You can decide how you want to name them, and you're going to post comments in that team. Your challenge, can you add an avatar? Can you mention a specific person in your team? Are you able to upload a file? Are you able to insert a picture? Are you able to add an app to the channel? So that's going to be your homework. Can you see the screen? Take a picture of that screen, and those are going to be the tasks that you're able to do. Quinn will also be facilitating a session later on, which will take you through, scheduling teams and those kind of elements. But we're not going to give you the answers to these questions necessarily, but it's going to be for you to be able to experiment and see. Are you all okay?
Colleagues, are you okay?
Were you able to see my screen?
Yeah, I can see.
Yes, we are okay.
Okay.
Can one of the colleagues take the picture of the activity and then post it on the WhatsApp group for those that can't see it, please?
Done already? Can you see it? Posted already, done?
Okay. So, okay, super. And then you can see that there's a registration link in the chat box. We just need your register links because
the networks.
Telkom wants to record. Remember, Telkom sponsored this fantastic session and have agreed to help you on your journey to get into a digital learning environment. So thanks to Matladi for getting this information to us. If you could fill in the register link, which will also pop in the WhatsApp group, Matladi.
Okay.
Just so that teachers can fill in the registers.
Yeah, I think Quintress already shared the link for
I'm sure why.
Yeah.
All right, so if there's no further questions, we're going to end this morning session and then we'll resume again in the afternoon. We'll resume at 3 o'clock where Quinn will be talking about
cutting. But the will be recorded. Don't worry, not recording anything. 1 hour 12 minutes.
All right, let's see. Okay, guys. Thank you for joining us in this session, which is the first session. Hopefully the connectivity will be a little bit better later on.
Yeah.
But it was great. We had a good number of people that were on the session today, which was really good, 32. So thank you very much. Let us continue our journey. I'm sure more will join.
Yes, definitely. Okay, thank you, Mashni. Okay. Thank you, team.
Alrighty. Thanks, everyone.
You. Thank you, Mashni.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
See you
if you
at
have a question, don't forget to send questions on the WhatsApp group for me.